My sister Mia and I were reborn to the exact day we received our marriage licenses. Mia didn't waste a second and snagged the wealthy Ryan as her hubby. Sis, Ryan's all mine now, and that cash is coming my way, she declared. I chuckled coldly. Did she honestly believe that marrying Ryan would make her some fancy high society wife? Later on, I hustled hard and became a celebrated actress with a ton of hit projects. Mia's only moment of fame was a 10-minute clip Ryan shared of her dancing at the Wild Stallion show. When we got reborn, the first thing Mia did was hide my household registration and ID, then went bawling to our dad. Why does she get to marry Ryan? I could marry him too. Ryan's family reps were chilling in the living room, and Mia was loud as hell. Dad gave her a stern look, worried they could hear. You haven't even graduated college. Next time, I'll find you someone more fitting. Given our family situation, it's unlikely we'll find someone like Ryan again. Mia shot me a vicious glare. There's only one shot. This time, it's mine. She was right. Our family was just middle class. Normally, hooking up with a top-tier billionaire like Ryan was impossible. Dad was just a regular doctor who, years back by chance, saved Ryan's father, Olivia. Knowing he had no sons and needed to climb the social ladder, he figured marrying off a daughter was the only way. So, he leveraged a favor just before Olivia passed to secure this marriage for me. In my past life, I married Ryan. To everyone else, I was the Cinderella meeting her prince, living in luxury and style. My sister, Mia, was seething with jealousy. She tricked me into going to the beach, glaring at my 9-month pregnant belly. We're sisters. Why do you get to marry into wealth and live the high life while I live normal? Your baby's born into privilege while my kid can't even afford classes. She tried pushing me into the water, and as we struggled, we both fell together. When I opened my eyes again, Mia was grabbing at the chance to marry her ex-brother-in-law Ryan, hungry as ever to climb into wealth. I just watched. Most people didn't realize how hellish it was to marry Ryan. As Mia was throwing her tantrum, a tall and handsome dude stood at the door. Dad instantly put on a smile and walked over. A chill ran down my spine. My past experiences with Ryan made my body react instinctively with fear. Seeing Ryan was like a cat spotting something terrifying, making all my hair stand on end. Mia, though, looked desperate and lunged. Mr. Ryan, consider marrying me. I'm younger and more obedient than my sister. Ryan glanced down at Mia. She looked so fragile and pitiful, any guy might feel sympathy. Then his eyes landed on me, freezing me in place. I must have looked pale, far from stunning. In a merger, marrying her or me didn't matter. Ryan's gaze shifted away from me, lifting Mia's chin, inspecting her like merchandise. After a moment, he nodded. Hand over your documents, we'll marry today. Mia was over the moon and dashed to grab her ID and registration. As she passed, she gave me a smug grin. Sis, Ryan's mine now, and that wealth is finally coming my way this life too. The next day, Ryan's wedding made headlines. Mia used this glamorous marriage to become a public figure, quickly landing roles in big projects. I was familiar with this scene. In my past life, after marrying into Ryan's family, they boosted my career from an unknown supporting role to a lead actress. Ryan wasn't helping my career. As their daughter-in-law, I needed a respectable identity in the industry to maintain stock prices. On the surface, I was Ryan's wife and the group's ambassador. Behind the scenes, I was just their toy. Married, I found out the upper class was more indulgent than I imagined. On the wedding night, Ryan sent me to dance on the Wild Stallion show stage, surrounded by wealthy onlookers. He shouted from the audience at me, in my wedding dress, "Take it off, take it off, take it off." I closed my eyes in disgust, instinctively touching my flat stomach. Funny enough, in my past life, I wasn't even sure who the father of my 9-month pregnant child was. Was it a family heir, a corporation's CEO, or that wolf in sheep's clothing movie star? Too many had touched me. I was a commodity, priced explicitly in Ryan's family's business deals. Every deal completion came with a subtle requirement. Have your starlet wife perform a dance. I had no right to refuse. From the moment I married into Ryan's family, my dad and sister's lives were in Ryan's hands. Dad, desperate to climb the social ladder, used a favor but didn't realize the complexities of the high class. A woman without a distinguished family background, like me, was only there to be exploited. I feared my sister would follow my path, so I pushed her out of the entertainment world, arranging a decent, if not wealthy, but kind spouse for her. Turns out her ambitions were sky high, not understanding my good intentions, even wanting me dead to replace me. In this life, I let her have her way. If she was more alert, she'd notice I wasn't competing for that chance to marry into wealth. That was a pit of fire. I climbed out after dying once, yet Mia was eager to jump in. Like before, Ryan quickly held the wedding ceremony. The wedding was at the Diamond Hotel, which thrilled Mia. She posted over 10 message moments that morning, full of selfies with the hotel background. She might think the wedding was grand, but to Ryan, it was just a formality. Clearly, such a wealthy family wouldn't rush this marriage if taken seriously. As the bride's sister, I attended the wedding. Mid-ceremony, Ryan and Mia vanished. Scanning the room, I noticed Ryan's friend's table was almost empty. I hurriedly called a server over to ask. Mr. Ryan took the bride to a suite on the third floor. I froze. It was the same as before. I sprinted to the third floor, rushing into the suite despite attempts to stop me. The door was slightly open, with familiar music and scents making me feel like I was back in the Wild Stallion show's spotlight. Inside, I kept hearing cheers from the guys, mixed with a few sultry voices from some women. Mia is my sister, after all. Watching her willingly jump into the same nightmare I did in a past life, I just couldn't let that happen. I pushed open the door to the private room, and under the dim purple lights on the stage, there was indeed a woman dancing. But when she turned, it wasn't Mia. It was Ryan's ex-girlfriend, Olivia. Take it off! What's the holdup? That sharp voice came from Mia. She was sitting in the audience, dressed in a wedding gown, and she was the only woman there. But she was the most enthusiastic cheerleader of all. The light in her eyes was scarier than any of the men there. I remembered Olivia was Mia's college roommate. Mia had mentioned more than once how she envied and was jealous of Olivia, that rich girl. Last year, Olivia's family's business went bankrupt and she became Ryan's ex. Mia was probably thrilled, finally getting to step on the girl she once admired so much, using Ryan's influence. I took off my jacket and rushed onto the stage, wrapping it around Olivia, who was down to her last layer of clothing. Olivia, looking awkward on stage, grabbed onto the jacket I handed over. She gave me a grateful look. I took her by the wrist and led her off the stage. The male audience members voiced their displeasure, but I couldn't care less about who they were. I just wanted to save Olivia, and in a way, save the old me too. Someone chased us, and I didn't expect it to be Mia. She grabbed Olivia's hand, angrily warning, "The dance isn't done. You dare ruin our fun? Olivia, do you think you're still that rich girl? Wake up. If you don't finish the dance, my husband won't let you off." How quickly she blended in with the men in the audience, and how fast she aligned herself with Ryan's high society. I shielded Olivia and questioned Mia. "Are you crazy? Do you even know what the Wild Stallion show is? You got your college friend to do this?" "Wild Stallion is high-class art," Mia said arrogantly. "I'm a girl, and I love watching it." "What's the problem?" I seriously reminded her. "If you help force Olivia on stage today, you could be next tomorrow." Mia's face showed a sweet sort of smugness. "No way. I'm Ryan's legally wedded wife. He'd never make me do that." I scoffed. When I was 3 months pregnant in my past life, I was still forced on stage. Where did Mia get the confidence to think Ryan saw her as a person? When we were at an impasse, Ryan approached us. Behind him were several men, including a CEO and a famous actor, all Ryan's buddies. No matter who they were in public, tonight they were guests at this Wild Stallion show. I would never forget the humiliation and pain these men caused me in another life. The stress made my palms sweaty. Olivia sensed something off and squeezed my hand, offering some comfort. Suddenly, I snapped out of the dark memories, confronting Ryan. "Is this how you rich folks celebrate? By humiliating your ex-girlfriend on your wedding day?" Ryan looked at me, and surprisingly, he patiently explained, "This was your sister's idea." I glanced at Mia, suddenly understanding why it wasn't her dancing tonight. With memories of the past, she probably knew Ryan and his friends liked to party. So she tricked Olivia into coming, sacrificing her dignity to fit into Ryan's circle. Relying on these men, Mia warned me, "Sis, if you take Olivia tonight, you're going against the whole upper class." Mia quickly stepped into the role of a high society wife, eager to put me down from her new position. She thought she had done something impressive, waiting for Ryan to praise her. But Ryan grabbed Mia's chin, mockingly saying, "Only a few hours in, not even made it to bed, and you think you're all that?" Mia naively replied, "Honey, we're married, so there's no mine or yours, right?" Ryan smirked. Then suddenly his face darkened and he slapped Mia. "Thinking you're hot stuff already just to show off who can't even keep it together." That slap ended the Wild Stallion show for the night. I took Olivia out, called a cab to send her home. Before getting in, Olivia looked at me gratefully, saying she'd pay back the favor someday. I watched the car leave the hotel grounds and let out a long sigh of relief. Saving Olivia felt like saving the old me from my first stage performance. Returning to the hotel lobby, the wedding banquet had ended, and the guests were gone. Mia's makeup, obviously touched up, hid the redness on her right cheek. She grabbed my hand. "Did you try to seduce Ryan? Why else would he hit me? I was supposed to make the move first in this lifetime." Ryan's attitude surprised me, but I wasn't foolish enough to think he loved me. I coldly asked, "Weren't you confident you could handle all this wealth? Why are you getting worked up with me? You?" Mia glared at me, and then our parents came over, hinting, "Mia, now that you're married into the rich family, you can't let your parents continue living in that old neighborhood, can you?" Ryan's mansion in the estate was more splendid than a castle. Our parents visited once and didn't want to leave, hoping to live there through Mia's marriage. "Mom, Dad, if you want to stay at Ryan's, I'll talk to my husband." Mia was holding on to her dignity, making them think Ryan adored her. "But I have one condition: cut off all ties with my sister." Mia thought this was a fatal threat, but I almost laughed out loud. Cutting ties with these parents? I'd welcome that. In my past life, they wanted me to marry into wealth for their sake, ruining my marriage and my life. After marrying Ryan, they were eager for me to bring them to live in Ryan's mansion too. I didn't want them to live off others, so I used my savings to buy them and Mia each a place in the city center. But they complained it wasn't a villa, saying I was hiding money from them. Mia even spread rumors that I was ungrateful, abandoning my family after marrying rich. This time, let them experience the hardship at Ryan's firsthand. Our parents hesitated, clearly having made a choice, but they were embarrassed to say it out loud. I sneered, "Fine, we can cut ties, but the house is mine. I bought it, and I'm taking it back. Who cares about that crappy house? Selling it would only get $2 million at best." At Ryan's place, my monthly allowance is more than $2 million. Mia acted all smug, thinking Ryan adored her. My parents bought her act and immediately disowned me, refusing to acknowledge me as their daughter. They didn't realize that without the house, when they're kicked out by Ryan's family, they'd truly be homeless. Mia thought she'd won big and taunted me victoriously. "Sister, last time I begged you to let me live at Ryan's with you, but you played high and mighty. This time I want you watching me live the rich life, green with envy, while you wallow in useless rage." Soon after, I returned to the set of Asterisk, Edge of Nightfall Asterisk, only to be told by the director that Mia had replaced me as the lead. I was demoted to the second lead. Considering Ryan's group was one of the show's investors, I saw it coming. Unexpectedly, co-star Sophia noticed the tension between Mia and me. She went to talk to Mia, and who knows what was said. The next day, Sophia became the second lead, and I was demoted again, reduced to an extra with the only role of a maid washing the lead's feet. "Either play my footmaid or wait to be blacklisted," Mia smirked at me. "Last time, you forced me out of the industry while you shined as a star. Now it's your turn to taste obscurity." I looked at her coldly. In our past life, I stopped her because she kept using Ryan's influence to score opportunities, dreaming of overnight fame. She didn't know the cost of getting resources from Ryan's family. I didn't want her ending up on the Wild Stallion show stage, so I made her quit and found her a stable husband. She was living a nice life but was never satisfied. She often complained her husband lacked ambition and even cheated with a man she thought was capable, only to be deceived and go insane. I shot back, "If you're stuck, it's because your ambitions outweigh your capabilities, not because of me." Mia's face twisted as she opened her mouth to argue. I splashed her face with the prop wash water. "Blacklist me? I don't even want the part." Mia sputtered on the water, furious. Everyone rushed to console her. She was, after all, the new wealthy wife. Sophia was the most eager, dabbing Mia's face while insulting me. As she cursed, I noticed a faint mark around her neck. The film's lead was Leo, a regular at the Wild Stallion show. Last time, his favorite act was using a pink chain to choke dancers. The struggling look fulfilled his sick pleasure. I felt a familiar tightness in my throat. I was once Leo's plaything while Ryan watched nearby. Did Sophia use Mia's connections to get into the Wild Stallion show? I guessed it was likely. I wanted to warn her not to end up dead, but when I approached, Sophia told me, "Get out of this set and stop leeching off your sister's fame." Not gonna listen, huh? I smirked, kept my warning, and figured people should own their choices. Right when I left the set, Olivia approached with a bag. Inside was the coat I lent her at the Wild Stallion show. That night, Olivia refused to pick up her own clothes off the stage. Too dirty, she said. She'd left wearing my coat. Today it was fresh and neatly folded. Olivia handed me a contract and said, "Emma, I heard Mia used her influence to ban you." A contract and said, "Emma, I heard Mia used her influence to ban you. I thought you'd be free now. If you want, come star in my film. I wrote and am directing it." The script won an award abroad, though the festival isn't well known here. The script's title caught my eye, asterisk, Sunrise Knows Me, asterisk. With the second chance, Mia and I both got a glimpse into the future. We knew what shows would blow up, which roles would gain fans. Mia snagged the lead in asterisk Edge of Nightfall asterisk, one set to be a big hit next year, using Ryan's power for top opportunities. And I got banned. I had no idea what asterisk Sunrise Knows Me asterisk would do for me, but it was my only shot. I asked, "But your family's out of the game, right?" Olivia smiled. "There's an old saying, a starved camel is still bigger than a horse. My family isn't flat broke. I graduated in film, and I own a media company." "Emma, I can be your agent if you're interested." My management team already jumped ship to Mia's side. I took Olivia's hand firmly. "Let's team up and rise again." True to her word, Olivia got asterisk. Sunrise Knows Me asterisk up and running in 2 weeks. The filming was right next to Mia's show. Rumors flew between the sets. Turns out the second female lead role often took sick days. I didn't pay much attention and focused on my work. Then, one day, I heard the sirens of police and ambulances. Locals said someone died in a nearby 5-star hotel. The hotel was the classiest in our filming location. An entire floor was owned by Ryan, doubling as another stage for the Wild Stallion show. Stars with cash and demand would naturally flock there. Sophia didn't show up on set that day. Guessing what might have happened, I rushed there. But in an alley, someone yanked me into its depths, hand over my mouth. I hit the wall hard, vision blacking out for a few seconds. When it cleared, a rough man was holding me. I recognized him, Alex. "What are you doing?" Alex, Mia's side affair from last time, pretended to be rich, but was just a construction worker. "Mia says you're destined for me. Gonna claim you out ahead of time, then." Alex's grip was insanely strong. When he had me pinned, I could barely breathe, let alone fight back. It was getting dark, and police sirens blared in the distance. But right there in the alley, Alex was yanking off my coat. He had me by the throat so tight I couldn't even scream for help. Just when all hope felt lost, there was a loud bang. Alex paused for a moment, clutching his head, before he crumpled to the ground. Fresh air rushed into my lungs, and I coughed desperately, thrashing around until someone held me. "It's me, Olivia." I looked up and realized it was Olivia holding me. Terrified, I started to cry, and Olivia just held me tight, patting my back. "It's okay, I've got you." She helped me up and threw the brick in her hand at Alex, who was lying on the ground. Then she dragged me out of the alley, and the gust of night air filled my lungs, making me feel alive again. Suddenly, I noticed my bracelet was gone from my left hand. I glanced back at the dark alley but knew better than to risk going back for it. Not far away, a woman's body was being wheeled out of a 5-star hotel. The wind lifted the sheet on the corpse, revealing her face and the scars underneath. Mia and Olivia both gasped. It was Sophia, and the most horrifying mark on her was the chain marks on her neck. From where we were, we could see a guy in a black hoodie with sunglasses sneaking into a van behind the hotel. Both the man's figure and the van pointed to one person, actor Leo. In my past life, Leo's favorite thing was chains. A chill ran through me. Sophia had tried to climb the social ladder by pleasing Leo, but ended up dead. Stunned by what we saw, Olivia and I stood there, all while Alex was creeping up behind us. bloodied and silent. There were a few muffled bangs behind us, and when Olivia and I snapped back to reality, only a pool of blood was left on the ground. Still scared out of our minds, we didn't dare investigate further and hastily returned to the set together. In the cover of night, two thugs with cigarettes crushed Alex's forehead under their boots. Alex looked up at the sky, Ryan's face filling his vision. "Ryan, it's a misunderstanding. Your wife sent me. Your wife sent me." "A misunderstanding? Your wife sent me." Ryan's eyes were filled with anger. "Where did you touch Emma?" Alex was caught off guard by Ryan's question, stammering in response. "Looks like he touched everywhere." Ryan tilted his head slightly. "Chop him up and feed him to the fish." Alex's terrified screams echoed through the alley until they were abruptly silenced, replaced by the dull sound of a blade cutting through flesh. By the sea, Ryan coldly watched his men feeding the fish. He held a broken jade bracelet in his hand. "Emma." He kissed the broken edge, closing his eyes like savoring some twisted pleasure. "This life, I don't want to share you with anyone else." I rushed over to the set where Mia was. Mia looked shocked to see me unharmed. Just as she was about to play dumb, I slapped her across the face. In front of the entire set, she clutched her face, her expression venomous. "Emma, you hit me? Consider that getting off easy." I grabbed her costume collar, warning her in a low voice, "You killed me in our past life. In this one, if I kill you, it's only what you deserve. Seems like Alex gave you quite the scare, huh?" Mia smirked, tugging at her swollen lip. "Sister, if we're swapping lives, we might as well see it through. Alex, that scumbag toyed with me in the past. You should experience being wrecked by him too. It's only fair." I told her coldly. "Leo's dead, you know?" Mia's smug expression froze. She clearly didn't know. I let go of her collar and shoved her back. "Figure out how you're going to deal with it, Mrs. Rich Wife." Sophia's death in the hotel got covered up. But since she was the second female lead, the sudden casting change drew a lot of attention. Eventually, word got out she didn't kill herself from depression. It was Ryan's family who spun that story. Sophia didn't have any connections except the creepy guys from the strip show, guys who wouldn't care about the death of a plaything. Things soon settled, and Mia continued to flaunt her status as Mrs. Wealthy on set, with everyone catering to her. She wasn't like how I was in the past, all worn out from my marriage. Not a hint of fatigue or bruises on her. Could Mia be an exception for Ryan? But soon I noticed something odd. The second female lead role in Asterisk Abyss of the Night Asterisk kept getting recast. They even had someone signed up, but on the second day, she was replaced by a fresh drama school graduate. This newbie was gone in just 10 days, and the role eventually went to a singer-turned-actress. With all this recasting, Asterisk Abyss of the Night Asterisk was crawling at a snail's pace. A year later, Asterisk Under the Morning Light Asterisk hit theaters. It was low budget, but the storyline and acting made it stand out, winning me the Best Actress at the Golden Film Awards, reviving my career. Meanwhile, the shows Mia filmed were airing too. What were blockbusters for me in the past became flops and were called low-grade under her. Only I knew those stories had real potential, and the lead roles were well-crafted characters, all ruined by Mia's arrogance and incompetence. At the Golden Film Awards, I ran into Ava, the second female lead from Asterisk Abyss of the Night Asterisk. She's always been bold with her style, but at this event, where everyone else wore strappy dresses, she wrapped herself in a coat. A waiter accidentally bumped into Ava, causing the coat to slip, showing off her spotted skin. My eyes widened. If I wasn't mistaken, those were signs of syphilis. Ava, flustered, adjusted her clothes, keeping her head low. She had traded her body and health at the strip show for a role in a trashy, unnoticed series, a gamble lost entirely. I picked up my wine glass and suddenly noticed something off about the wine. Thanks to my past life at the strip show, I'm particularly sensitive to drugged drinks. I glanced up and caught Mia looking my way, pretending not to notice me. I told Olivia about the tainted wine and asked for her help. The hotel hosting the Golden Film Awards used to belong to Olivia's family. Though bankrupt, her family had always paid its staff, earning the hotel manager's respect. In no time, the suspicious wine ended up in Mia's hands instead. Halfway through the event, Mia left with a splitting headache, as did Leo, who showed similar signs of intoxication. Was Mia trying to set something up between Leo and me tonight? She's been ruthless, so I figured I didn't need to stick to any moral high ground either. Mia and Leo were shown to the same room, courtesy of the hotel manager's helpful guidance. An hour later, I called a reporter friend, and we caught them in the act in the hotel suite. The rich socialite and movie star Leo were caught passionately entangled after the banquet, and when the photos were taken, Leo had the same syphilis spots on his back that Ava had. After the banquet, and when the photos were taken, Leo had the same syphilis spots on his back that Ava had. Mia came to her senses and realized what had happened with Leo, and she screamed in shock. People from the Ryan family took her away because obviously the scandal couldn't be directly linked to the Ryan family. When Mia was being taken away, I was just there watching the drama unfold. She came rushing at me. "It was you! You switched the drinks, didn't you, Emma?" "It was supposed to be you in that bed." "Yeah, I did it," I whispered back to her. "I snagged Best Actress. And you're so jealous, right? Leo has an infection, and you drugged me so I'd catch it too. And take the blame for being his mistress, didn't you?" Mia's face turned pale as I grabbed her chin, trying to play games with me. "You still have a lot to learn, so now you're the one who cheated and you're getting infected with syphilis." "Oh, dear sis, is that a rash starting on your arm?" I pointed to Mia's arm, although it was just a mild allergic reaction to alcohol, but I used it to mess with her, sending her into a panic, rubbing her arms like crazy. "Mia, with this disease, do you think Ryan will still keep you around?" Leo's cheating scandal blew up on trending topics quickly, with follow-up searches like Leo syphilis and Leo's wild affairs. I shook my head, looking at those trending topics. These media folks aren't getting the main story. Let me give them a new headline. That night, Leo's wild show hit the top of trending topics. This wild show was a secret indulgence among the upper-class families like the Ryans, a first for the public eye. Some insiders came forward saying it was essentially a club performance, but to please the wealthy elite instead of regular folks. On the stage of this show, whether you were an award-winning actress or a rich man's wife, you turned into an object for men. The exchange of resources behind these shows was even shadier. Compared to it, Leo's marriage cheatings seemed mild. As the scandal unfolded overnight, Ava, who was caught with another skin disease at the banquet, got dragged into the spotlight too. The Ryan family shielded Mia, but a scapegoat was needed for Leo's affair, and Ava was picked. It wasn't entirely inaccurate to call her the mistress, but Ava wasn't one to back down. She took a defiant stand, posting outright on social media. In the Asterisk Tonight Abyss Asterisk crew, the female second lead role switched hands 5 times. Other than the first choice, Emma, everyone else got the part through that wild show, whether by dancing, stripping, or literally sleeping their way up. "I was just the one who went the furthest, so the role went to me," she wrote. "Oh, and remember Sophia? Were it not for her being strangled by Leo in bed, the role wouldn't even have come to me." Neither Sophia nor I could access that show by ourselves. Guess who was brokering the deals? She tagged Mia at the end. Ava was a rising idol before, not short on opportunities for a true breakout role, but in a moment of greed, she chose shortcuts, ending up losing everything and now intends to take Mia down with her. At the Ryan household. Mia knelt at Ryan's feet, begging for forgiveness through sobs while scratching at the syphilis spots on her arm. She reached to hold Ryan's hand, but he pushed her away, repulsed. "If you hadn't drugged Emma's drink, she couldn't have turned this on you, and the Ryan family wouldn't be caught in such a scandal." Ryan's voice was firm and oppressive. Mia was lost, pleading, "Honey, don't divorce me. I can make it right. I'll fix this." "Make it right? Fine." Ryan lifted her chin, eyeing her tear-stricken, yet beautiful face. "Mia, the next wild show you'll perform. I want you to prove to the world that the Ryan family's infamous show is simply an artistic expression far from what rumors say." Do you grasp my meaning? Mia had watched plenty of these shows. She'd even introduced many girls to the stage. She knew too well what performing there meant. "But I'm your wife." She gazed up at Ryan. "I'm your lawful, wedded wife. How could you make me dance such a dance? Do you really see yourself as anything else?" Ryan swatted her chin away. "From the start, you were just an obedient dog in my eyes. On the first night of our marriage, it was supposed to be you on stage, entertaining my friends, cheerfully suggesting marriage instead. I've never met anyone as devious and fawning as you. I kept you around only because you're like a hunting dog, willingly bringing me prey by introducing high-profile actresses as our amusement. That's your only worth. Now it's all blown open, Mia. With no one else to take the stage, that means it's your turn. The next time I saw Mia was on TV. Amid the scandal, her team booked her on a reality show, one where guests visited the Ryan household. Mia appeared on camera as the hostess, wearing long sleeves and enthusiastically showing viewers around, trying to project an image of a cherished wife in an upscale family. She was working hard to sell the audience on the idea that there was no trouble in her marriage, subtly shutting down rumors of her pimping out women to her husband. This reality show was live. The camera accidentally panned to a maid cleaning the kitchen floor and a guard standing watch outside. I squinted. Wasn't this maid and this security guard the same parents who cut ties with me to chase after wealth? Mia. My parents pulled Mia aside. A flicker of disdain crossed her face, but she had to smile for the camera. These two are just the maid and the security uncle, she said as she uttered those words. I saw my parents' faces shift, a painful blend of humiliation and anger. They thought living in the mansion meant a good life, not expecting to find themselves as a maid and guard at the mercy of others. In my last life, I went out of my way to save them from this reality, only to find no gratitude. This time, let them fully experience its bitterness. After the show aired, the public criticism against Mia softened a bit, and her fans started feeling proud. My Mia is the happy wife of a wealthy family. Those who spread rumors about her are just jealous of her good life. She is Ryan's legally married wife. How happy that Cinderella married her Prince Charming. I don't believe Cinderella would pimp her prince after marriage. I bet her sister Emma bought the hot searches because she's jealous of her sister. Then, Ryan's family PR seized the moment and announced that Mia would personally perform in a Wild Stallion show a month later. To preserve Mia's status in the wealthy circle, her fans quickly helped clean up her image. The fact that Ryan's family lets Mia perform in a Wild Stallion show shows it's legitimate art, just with an avant-garde style. Stand up for Mia's freedom to choose what she wears. If even Mia can strip at the Wild Stallion, why are those other actresses complaining? Soon enough, it was the day of the performance, a month later. Surprisingly, I received an invitation from Ryan's family. Ryan personally called me, "Hey, movie queen, don't you want to see your sister dance on stage? I know she hurt you before. This show is her punishment from me." Ryan punishing Mia for me? I increasingly couldn't understand this version of Ryan. I didn't accept the invitation, but I still saw Mia's Wild Stallion show. Within 10 minutes of the performance starting, Mia's Wild Stallion dance video was all over the internet. Mia's 10-minute Wild Stallion dance video. Free resources. Join the group to watch. The passionate dance of the socialite misses, her clothes all over the place. Wow, wow. Page sharing. Mia's Wild Stallion show screen recording. Watch it quick. In the video, Mia wore the flimsiest of clothing, moving awkwardly to the music. In those 10 minutes, it wasn't her clothes that fell to the floor, but her dignity. This Wild Stallion show almost stripped away all her dignity as a celebrity and as Mrs. Ryan. Olivia showed me a piece of backstage surveillance. The location was behind the stage. 10 minutes before going on stage, Mia was holding an ultrasound report. "Honey, I'm pregnant. I'm pregnant." She was on cloud 9, expecting to give birth to an heir, something she envied me for in her past life. Even more so, she thought this child could save her from this humiliating show. I laughed at her foolishness. Sure enough, Ryan didn't even glance at the report in her hand. He just grabbed her by the neck and asked, "Is this kid mine, or Leo's, or someone else's?" Mia turned pale, frozen. "Pregnant? Keep dancing." Ryan whispered something in Mia's ear, making her eyes widen, like she was looking at a monster. I couldn't make out what he said. We had gathered enough evidence by now. Olivia suggested we should report to the police during the peak public attention. Olivia and I had been gathering evidence for the past 2 years about the Wild Stallion show's illegal activities, including the suspicious death of Sophia and Ava's cooperating testimony, along with other girls Mia sent to the show. With my knowledge from my past life, I was well aware of the gray loopholes within Ryan's group. But even with all this evidence, it wasn't enough to take down top-class families like the Ryans. On top of that, the regular audience of the Wild Stallion shows was not simple. Their interests aligned, and confronting them openly was impossible. So I went along with the plan, aiming to become a movie queen based on talent, intentionally provoking Mia, exploiting her weaknesses, and luring her to act out of desperation. I anticipated her drugging drinks and had planned in advance to send her and Leo to bed together. I wanted this filthy transaction to become public, attracting enough attention before reporting to the cops. Only this way could we deliver a knockout blow to Ryan and his circle of friends and their backing families. With substantial evidence, the police quickly focused their investigation on the Ryan family. The investigation revealed that Sophia wasn't the only casualty at the Wild Stallion show. Ryan pushed Mia to take the blame, and amidst her breakdown, she miscarried. A dispute at Ryan's house was captured by reporters that day. The headline they wrote was truly provocative. Crazed female lead of Wild Stallion rejected by wealthy family, involved in murder case taken by police. Mia used to be herself. Later, she was known as Ryan's wife, and now her alias is the crazed Wild Stallion actress. Later, regulars at the Wild Stallion show were also investigated one by one. They were the youngest generation from a few prominent families, causing upheaval among the elite, leading to a reshuffling of family powers. The success of the movie Under the Sun brought rich returns to both Olivia and me, allowing Olivia to take advantage of this opportunity and revive her group. As for me, I fully devoted myself to acting, piecing my shattered past life back together. By year's end, I got nominated for Best Actress for a new work. On the way to the awards ceremony, the driver suddenly turned the car around. A loud noise hit me, and I suddenly lost consciousness. When I regained consciousness, I was surrounded by an endless ocean. The salty air filled the atmosphere, and the yacht sailed steadily over the waves. Awake? Ryan stood before me, and every hair on my body stood on end. What did you do to me? He was supposed to be under police control. How did he manage to seize me at sea? Emma, thanks to you, the police are hunting me everywhere back home. Fortunately, I have assets abroad. But how does a wanted man leave the country? My friends, they're either in jail or bankrupt, too busy with their problems. I had to buy a yacht and smuggle myself out. With the Ryan family in ruins, I've got nothing left. But I'm not about to just give up. Ryan caressed my cheek. So, I'm taking you with me. We're in international waters now. In another day, we'll reach country S, once husband and wife, 100 days of grace. Ryan said, gazing at me passionately. We were married over 900 days in a past life. Don't you feel any gratitude? I was shaking all over. What did you say? Babe, you're really harsh. Ryan smiled at me. Don't play amnesia in front of me, Mia said. You also remember your past life. My eyes widened, staring at Ryan. So not only Mia and I are reborn, but Ryan too. I suddenly understood what he whispered to Mia that day. Ryan told the pregnant Mia, in our past life, your sister could dance for me when she was 3 months pregnant. If she could, why can't you? That sentence made Mia realize Ryan was from our past life too, and left her terrified after witnessing Ryan's ways. She finally knew he was a crazy psychopath. Emma, Ryan sighed heavily, looking at me affectionately. After you and our child died at sea in our previous life, I realized how much I loved you. We always take things for granted until we lose them. So this life, I didn't force you to marry me because I know sooner or later you'll be mine again. I'm not in a rush, but your sister is eager to stick around. In our past life, she got you killed. So I punished her for you. She's smart. For survival, she kept hurting other girls. But I don't like her cunning nature. Ryan brushed back my hair, tousled by the sea breeze. I like your unyielding kindness and resilience. Even someone like me gets drawn to you. He held me tight. I want to start fresh with you in a new country. In our past life, I was too generous and hurt you. But this time, I'm keeping you all to myself. He actually dismissed the way he mistreated me in our previous life as mere generosity. Ryan embraced me without defense, probably thinking I was still the gentle, kind Emma from before. Did you just say we're on international waters? I leaned my head on his shoulder and carefully pulled out the hairpin from my updo. I wore an elegant hairstyle for the awards ceremony. Before setting off, Olivia whimsically pinned my hair with a silver hairpin, saying she wanted me to look my best while collecting my second Best Actress award. My second trophy will be stained with Ryan's blood. I aimed the end of the hairpin at the soft spot where Ryan's neck meets his head and stabbed it fiercely. Ryan stiffened, struggling. I held the hairpin tight, driving it entirely into his neck. It's a critical spot. His body went limp, staring at me in shock. I grabbed his collar with my blood-soaked right hand and pushed him to the yacht's edge. International waters are great. They're free. I spoke softly, like a sea spirit's whisper. The ocean will hide the body for me. I stayed at an unknown spot on the open sea all night. At dawn, a Coast Guard ship flying its flag arrived. Olivia rushed over from the ship, hugging me tightly, sobbing and scolding me. "You scared me to death, do you know that? I thought you'd fallen into the sea and were gone forever." I smiled and patted her back. In my past life, my shattered existence was swallowed by the sea. But in this life, I avenge myself on the water. I'm going to live well. I looked at the spot where Ryan's body was lost to the ocean, letting those rotten souls look up from below at my new, brilliant life. Later, the Coast Guard asked about Ryan's whereabouts. He kidnapped me. While struggling, he fell into the sea. And then a shark suddenly jumped out of the water and ate him. Truly, it's such a coincidence. And I was terrified. I lied. Olivia later said it was the worst acting of my life. Regardless, with Ryan kidnapping me, whatever I did was self-defense. Now that Ryan's dead, no one would dig into a dishonored, bankrupt tycoon. When Mia learned Ryan died at sea, she thought she could inherit his overseas assets. But she quickly found out she inherited nothing but his debts. Ryan wanted a divorce, but she was after the Ryan family's wealth and refused to agree. Now facing billions in debt, regretting won't help, not even if she cries her heart out. Tangled in a legal battle, Mia was at her wits' end. Later, my parents came begging me to take her in. The traces of syphilis on Mia had reached her neck, impossible to hide. Even my parents, bringing her, found her too filthy to touch. "Didn't you look down on the house I bought back then? Now you're regretting it." My parents hung their heads, not daring to meet my eyes. "Make a choice again this time. Between Mia and me, you can only choose one." "I choose you. Emma, you're our best daughter," my parents said in unison, abandoning Mia without hesitation. I sneered, "But we cut ties, remember?" Stunned, my parents stood there while I called security to drive them out. They cried, saying they couldn't survive. I laughed and said, "One as a nanny, another as security. There's always a way to survive. Isn't this the good life you had at Ryan's mansion? Now you can live like this forever." After sending my parents away, Mia clung to me. "Sis, I didn't know your past life was so hard." I thought she finally understood the difficulties of my past life, but she suddenly laughed wildly. "So you were treated worse than an animal by Ryan?" I was envious, but turns out you were nothing. "Yes, sis." I looked at her with pity. "Which is why when we were reborn, I didn't hesitate to let you marry Ryan. Didn't you notice? I never planned to compete with you from the start." Mia's face turned cold. I smiled, pointing to the villa opposite. The man of the house moved in today with his gentle wife and understanding daughter. They are really happy. That man was someone I had picked for Mia in our past life. He's a stock with potential. If Mia had settled down with him, in 2 years, she'd be a happy, wealthy wife, far happier than marrying into Ryan's family. "Sis, I had planned the best life for you. You ruined it all yourself." Mia looked at the man in the opposite villa, deeply regretful, and rushed over, clutching him, calling him husband. But he pushed her away, angrily shouting for her to stay away, or he'd call the police. I could hear Mia's desperate cries. Afterward, I heard her syphilis got worse. She became a ghost of her former self, even taking off her clothes on the street and doing that dance Ryan taught her. People passing by took videos and said, "That's the socialite who danced at the Wild Stallion show." She went insane, completely out of her mind. Eventually, because of a murder case, she got caught and was sentenced to life in prison. By the time I won my 7th Best Actress award, 5 years had passed. 5 years later, when people talked about Emma, they referred to the box office queen worth billions. People watched her movies just to see her on screen. The name Mia always followed me around, though many forgot who she was. Oh, you mean the Wild Stallion show lead dancer? Yeah, now that you mention it, I remember her. I have that 10-minute video of hers. Want to see it?